PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub Recap here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm host Ian Rachiele, and on this edition, we are going to be talking about the most recent matchup involving your Vegas Golden Knights, and in a defensive-minded game where not much scoring was put on the board and a shutout was done by a particular goalie. We are going to cover everything involving this game. And we're going to go over the pregame notes because there is a very important person that is back in practice for the Vegas Golden Knights. So we're going to cover everything on this episode of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap here on PRConnectionsRadio.com. Now, as we are doing this recap here, first of the month, very fans happening here involving your Vegas Golden Knights. Part of the pregame notes, and quite interesting because you got to remember what happened last time involving this exact team Vegas Golden Knights faced. Last time, your captain, Mark Stone, is back in practice. He is skating with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. So Mark Stone, who has missed about a month of the season, this is somebody who got injured with the whole Connor McDavid on an empty net a while back. So for Mark Stone to be skating in practice, he is, not on any of the lines yet, not going to be, in the starting lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights, but it is very good news for Vegas Golden Knights fans, and it's really good for the Vegas Golden Knights organization that you have a guy like Mark Stone who is skating, participating in practice, and is about to be back with the Vegas Golden Knights. And considering the next two matchups the Vegas Golden Knights have, which will be the Anaheim Ducks and the Dallas Stars, do not be shocked if by the end of either this week or the week after, the Vegas Golden Knights, they're going to have their captain. He will be in the starting lineup once again. I mean, a lot of people remember the first dozen games, you had Barbashev, Eichel, and Stone being the catalyst, the goal-scoring, point-producing first line that it was. And with Mark Stone being hurt, Dorofeyev was put on that role. They even had Alexander Holtz for a game or two. But overall, when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, Mark Stone being in practice, that is a good sign for the Vegas Golden Knights organization. Now, the starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, with that announcement of Mark Stone returning to practice and being part of the lines and trying to get back to 100%, he will eventually take back that first line spot. But until he does, it will be Ivan Barbashev, Jack Eichel, and Pavel Dorofeyev on that first line. On forward line 2 is Tomas Hertl, Nicholas Waugh, and Keegan Kolesar. So over the last couple of games, we've really seen the chemistry build of Hertl and Waugh and Kolesar. Now on forward line 3 is Brett Howden, William Karlsson, and Victor Olofsson. So Victor Olofsson coming back a while ago, him being on that third line with Karlsson and Howden. And then on the fourth line, Alexander Holtz really just trying to find something of note. And then Cole Schwindt and Tanner Pearson. Those two have been on that fourth line for a while now. Defensive pairings, this is really no big difference. Zach Whitecloud not in the lineup, still dealing with the injury that's going on with him. So Kenny Korzak and Nicholas Hague on that third pairing, but then followed by the usual suspects of McNabb and Theodore, and then you have Hannafin and Pietrangelo. And then in net for the Vegas Golden Knights will be your starting goaltender, and that is Aiden Hill. So for this game, it is very interesting when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, what we saw here, and that mostly was defense, defense, defense. The amount of great display of defense that we saw, it was from the forward end, it was from the defensive end. Brayden McNabb being arguably one of the most underrated defensemen in hockey. He made some really crucial plays in front of Aiden Hill, right in front of the net in this game. So this was a very interesting game out there between Edmonton and Vegas. Now, when this game started out for your Vegas Golden Knights, when Ivan Barbashev scored his 13th goal of the season and scoring half a goal per game up to this point in the last 26 games, 13 goals, really a stellar mark for Ivan Barbashev, what he has done, and like I said, about the last 26 games is really remarkable. And the fact that this was a pretty much an unassisted goal by Ivan Barbashev. But, I've talked about Pavel Dorofeyev and the fact that he is averaging half a goal per game. Ivan Barbashev, him scoring half a goal per game. It's going to be very interesting who gets to 40 goals by the time we get to the end of this, because they're both around that mark right now. And then you got Tomas Hertl at the power play, him being really that quarterback that the Golden Knights have needed. But Ivan Barbashev scoring that first goal ended up being the only goal in this game. There was no goal for the rest of the first period. There was no goal in the second period at all. And there was no goal in the third period. So it's very fascinating how when the game kicked off and when Ivan Barbashev scored that first goal, I don't think many people who are watching the broadcast, the people who are at the arena and at the event themselves, there was not many people who was going to make the assumption that Ivan Barbashev would be the only player that would end up scoring in this game. But hey, kudos to him, 13th of the season for Ivan Barbashev. And this is really cool to see. And I'm really happy for Ivan Barbashev, because you got to remember last year, that first year of that contract, it was shaky at times. And him being on that first line, still having that confidence of him being a first line forward for the Vegas Golden Knights. So really good to see what he's doing right here for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, despite this being a 1-0 game, I understand from an outsider's perspective, there is not much to really go over. From an outsider's perspective, it seems like for 60 minutes, the Edmonton Oilers just skated around for 60 minutes and did nothing of note. And the Vegas Golden Knights for 60 minutes did not do much of note. But what I love about defensive-minded games is the spotlight and the positives that take away from that. And the first main takeaway from the Vegas Golden Knights is the discipline of this team. For an organization who has actually had the last couple of games where we have seen fights, where we've seen scrums, where we've had, tripping penalties and roughing penalties and interference penalties and too many men over the ice penalties. In this game, where the Vegas Golden Knights 1-0 over the Edmonton Oilers, a no penalty situation for the Vegas Golden Knights. That is something that, as a hockey fan, you can appreciate. For someone who has grown up around hockey, you will be able to fully understand that when there is no penalties on either side, that is a disciplined type of game between two organizations who in the past have had a decent amount of penalties against each other. So that is a really good note for the Vegas Golden Knights. The fact that there was no penalties in this game. And it was really good for Vegas because you didn't have a penalty kill situation or not even a power play option. You just simply had 60 minutes of 5-on-5 action until, we get to the empty net, towards the end of the game. But for the most part, it was a good back and forth. Just, your defense going up against their offense and their defense going up against your offense. And that's what you like to see in hockey. Now, something else that happened in this game is the fact that for the Vegas Golden Knights, you had 0 shots on goal in the first 10 minutes of the third period. I mean, I understand that when it's a 1-0 game, you're going to focus on defense. You're going to concentrate on helping out Aiden Hill, on Braden McNabb, Shea Theodore, Noah Hannafin, Alex Petrangelo. They're going to sit back. They're going to block shots. They're going to try to help out Aiden Hill as much as they did. And it was accomplished. But that was something of note that a lot of people did pick up on, was the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights recorded 0 shots in half of the third period. And even when they did start taking shots, it was not as many as Edmonton, when it came to the third period. But once again, you're playing defense. It was tactical. You're trying to defend a 1-0 lead. You're not trying to make a mistake while trying to go and make it a 2-0 game. So as much as some people want to bring up the fact that there was no shots on goal in those first 10 minutes, now you look at that as a positive because, once again, you're focused on the defensive end, and the Vegas Golden Knights did a really solid job when it came to defending their net and making sure that Adin Hill took care of business in this game. And a final positive takeaway before we get into really the only negative that we have in this game is the 22 block shots that your Vegas Golden Knights did in this game. Now, I did mention that a lot of them came from the defensive end, but even there were some forwards who were helping out, and they had a block shot or two in this game. So for an organization to have 22 block shots in a single game really shows you how defensive-minded this game was, and more importantly, how the amount of the sacrificing the body the Vegas Golden Knights were willing to do in this game. And I can appreciate it. I'm pretty sure you can appreciate it. But that is really one of the final positive takeaways of this game is the fact that your Vegas Golden Knights had over 20 block shots in this game. And helping out Adin Hill was a good part of the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. Now, I did mention a little bit ago that there's going to be one negative that the Vegas Golden Knights had in this game. And as much as people don't want to talk about it, as much as people are going to say, oh, it's an off night, it's going to happen, but when you're a superstar, 0 shots on net, you didn't even take a shot in this game. Now, I also want to mention that he did turn over the puck 3 times in this game as well, despite the fact that he did not shoot in this game. But you have a superstar. You have a guy who's among the leaders in points right now in the NHL, and him not shooting the puck for the Vegas Golden Knights, it is very alarming that when you watch this game, and if in the future you decide to go back and you watch replays of games throughout the regular season, this is going to be a game that Jack Eichel's lack of production and the lack of shooting in this game was very noticeable. It seemed like Jack Eichel was just skating around and he was just, on the ice for some certain amount of minutes of time in this game. But yeah, that is one negative that you really have to focus on is the fact that Jack Eichel, the lack of shooting. Now, if I really wanted to, if I wanted to be that negative type of guy, if I wanted to be an asshole, I could be someone that could nitpick and talk about, 40% face-off win percentage. If I wanted to nitpick and I wanted to talk about the amount of turnovers in this game, yeah, I could do that if I really wanted to. But this is Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. This is a 1-0 win, so we're not going to do that on this episode. So the only negative that I wanted to mention, because it's somewhat of a big deal, is the fact that Jack Eichel had 0 shots in this game for the Vegas Golden Knights, and for the superstar and for the team MVP that Jack Eichel is, having him put up 0 shots on net, that was a bit alarming, and it was a noticeable detail in this game. But when it comes to the great performance and really the notable performance of this game, it starts and stops with Adin Hill. Adin Hill, who, yes, I have talked about, he is streaky at times, no doubt about it. But when Adin Hill is on it, my, oh my, he is on it for the Vegas Golden Knights. And making 28 of 28 saves against the Edmonton Oilers. That was an incredible job by Adin Hill. Now, I mentioned the defense, and I mentioned how Brady McNabb was blocking shots, and I mentioned how guys like Noah Hannafin was getting in front of the puck and was trying to help Aiden Hill out. And of course, you always want defense to help out your goaltender. And of course, a goaltender will always buy a round, or they will show their appreciation to defense by the end of the season. But when it comes to a performance like this, Aiden Hill was phenomenal tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. But you have to always give credit where credit is due, and the defense did help out. So for Aiden Hill, 28 out of 28. And I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat it. Your player of the game has to be your goaltender. This shutout, I almost said shootout. Great. Shutout of this game, and that is for Aiden Hill. So, player of the game, this is the third that Aiden Hill has had here on Vegas Hockey Recap this season. And for Aiden Hill, I appreciate what he has done for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, this is a good victory for the Vegas Golden Knights. This is really building up that momentum. We've seen over the last week and a half, 2 weeks of the season, that the Vegas Golden Knights have found a way to really build up some streaks over the last few weeks. And this is also the same Vegas Golden Knights team that when you look at the win-loss record and everything the Vegas Golden Knights have done, this is an organization that has really been building up consistency throughout the year. Now, you're going to be taking on Anaheim. You're going to be taking on Dallas. And then, moving on from that, you're going to have Winnipeg, who is arguably the best team in the NHL. And then you're going to have the Edmonton Oilers once again, and that's going to be 11 days from now. So it's going to be very fascinating to see what the Vegas Golden Knights do. Of course, here on Vegas Hockey Recap, we break down every single game of the season. We're going to do all of that here on Vegas Hockey Hub. But for overall, when it comes to a game like this and a defensive prioritized game, this is a moment where if you're someone who loves goaltenders, you are happy that Aiden Hill did what he did tonight. If you're someone who is a fan of defense, you think this is one of the best games you could have seen. Now, if you're someone who loves offense and thinks that, a 6-5 game is the greatest game of all time, you probably got bored and really did not like this. If you're a sports bettor, if you're someone who is betting on the over and under and you picked the over in this game, good luck to you. It was clearly under when it comes to the over-under. Now, depending on who you are as a sports fan, I'm going to say that this is one of the best games you could have watched. If you are a defensive-minded fan, I appreciate defense. I think defense is the most important aspect of hockey. So this was definitely a great game to watch. And, we're going to have the Anaheim Ducks game. And that is going to be, this is the first game of a doubleheader. Of course, we're going to cover that doubleheader when that game does happen. But this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of stuff we're going to cover on this episode, and the next episode is moving onward. So this is Vegas Hockey Recap. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. I do want to say go to all our social medias, www.Vegas Hockey Hub, which is our website that we're currently building and expanding right now. We have our social media pages at Vegas Hockey Hub. We have our YouTube channel where we try to upload exclusive content onto our network. And then we also have our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, our TikTok. PR Connections Radio, they're the one who help us with the studio and putting our shows out there. So I have to give credit to PR Connections Radio for what they're doing out there. And overall, if you want to watch me, for example, at Ian J. Rachiele, IANJRACHIELE. So this is a really fun game. This was a lot of action defensively. And overall, I enjoyed this game. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And go Knights, go. And hope you enjoyed this defensive-minded matchup between these two teams. A shutout for Aiden Hill.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.